Hey guys, Nick here. Just dropping in to give you a little tour of our backyard here, a little tropical permaculture homestead backyard, really small space. We're located in Puerto Rico, Luquillo, Puerto Rico. It's 18 degrees north, 65 degrees west for any of you who want to look it up on a map. But yeah, just gonna give you a basic little rundown of what we have here, what we got going, what we're growing, and see what we can do. To give you at least a little bit of a little insight into our lives back here. You're going to see a lot of animals, that's for sure, because we love animals here. Our cat is right down here. You'll see him very much in this video. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this camera around and we'll get going. As promised, here's our cat. This is Otto. Otto plays a major role in keeping our mice and rat population down out here. And he loves to hunt lizards, and he's just a very playful cat, as you're going to see right now. He's getting ready to go pounce on something. Oh, there he goes. Anywho, so this is our house here. This is our back door, kind of comes out of the house, and we get to kind of come right into the backyard. And this is a really kind of odd house because we actually have a drainage ditch that runs right outside our back door. So this is for drainage for when we have major rain flows, which we have a lot here. It actually goes, let's see if I can pan this camera around. There we go. It comes actually from below the neighbor's house over there, and it comes all the way down here. We have a little bridge to go over, and then it goes down this way and eventually joins into a little drainage down there. All right, so from our backyard, let's see, we got a little mini greenhouse. This is actually built by Kike, a previous resident here. And he basically just put together a bunch of these plastic kind of window fittings here. So in the tropics, we have these kind of shutter style windows. So you can open them up and have wind flow and get some airflow through there because it gets pretty hot. But if you're using an AC, an air conditioning unit, you have to put these in the windows so you don't lose all that cool weather. So he used all the old ones from the house and basically put together this little thing. So it works really well for us. It's very basic. It just, right now I have a couple things in here starting cucumbers. Let's see what else we starting. Cucumbers, kale, collards, komatsuna, some celery. And this is kind of just a mix of compost and right now perlite. I prefer compost and sand personally, but this is what I got access to during this coronavirus lockdown. So that's what we got there. All right, let's reposition this camera. All right, so back to the cat here. Kind of the first thing I really want to talk about before we get into the gardens. Hey, Otto. Very playful cat. It's actually the chickens, which are of course really bright right now because the sun just came through the clouds, so it's a little hard to see them in this little light. But so the chickens play a really vital role in this landscape. When we first got here, this entire thing right here was just grass. It was just lawn, pretty much just like this over here right near this greenhouse. So all of it was pretty much like this. So that's kind of what we worked with from the start. We had a couple little terraces started, and we have all these just kind of rocks that are just naturally here from a long time ago, back when this was a volcano, very long time ago. So looking out this way, this is a view basically from our backyard, and you can see the chicken pen the coop is right here. There's our little gate to go in there, and then they have a little run that goes down here. Now, we started with chickens because they help us by basically tilling in all the grass. They'll go in, chickens are scratchers, they scratch things. So when they're out in the middle of their little pen, if we have just straight grass, they're actually going to scratch it and kind of start pulling it up for us. So these chickens do a really good job. On top of that, they produce, of course, eggs. They produce manure. And if you do it right, they can produce compost. So compost is it's very high in kind of phosphorus from all their droppings, which is pretty usually lacking in the tropics. So these mamas, we have basically a rooster and 2 hens. We actually started with 6. We started with 6 chickens, and what ended up happening is one of them died at a young age. It's pretty common with chickens. They're not quite well enough and everything. You just can't get them to make it all the way. And the other 2 were males. They're both roosters. Now, we have a very small little chicken pen here, so having 3 roosters didn't quite work out because they're just too much fighting. Here's the little rooster. He's doing his little rooster dance towards me. Glad you get to see that. Come on, do it again. Yeah, but he's a good boy. He doesn't do anything to me. He's used to it. He's used to me here. I hold each and every one of these chickens every day, so they're used to it. But the 2 mamas here, they're producing eggs for us, so we get 2 eggs a day. They actually produce every single day. Usually you get 4 to 6 eggs a week, but on a regular basis, we're getting basically an egg each per day. Ideally, we'd have about 3 to 4 more hens, so we're getting about 6 eggs a day and 1 rooster. Natural flock size for chickens is 1 rooster or 2 roosters to 30 hens. So if you want to divide that, it'll be 1 rooster for 15 hens. So 1 rooster is plenty for us. So those other 2 roosters I was talking about, we ended up harvesting them. So we let them grow. We kind of treated them well, and then we harvested them when it was time, when they were big enough. And we actually have we did that right back here in the backyard, and those became dinner for us. Now, I'm actually a vegetarian, so I only had a little bit, but Katie, my fiance, she eats meat, and if I am going to eat meat, I want to know where the meat came from. So we started here with the chickens. It's a really basic little coop. We basically have a ladder to get up to the coop. There's a little watering system where they peck at it and they get the little water out. This prevents it from getting really dirty really quickly. So we really like this. I can fill this like once every week or 2, and it lasts them, keeps it kind of cool with that white, keeps it protected and won't get all clean and clogged. Their food, we just feed them a grain mix or a pellet mix. Basically, we get down here. It's actually rooster feed that we feed them here. And then we give them all of our kitchen scraps, and they are also working on this compost. So I built a compost pile in here, and they actually scratched through it, and in the end it becomes this really high quality compost that these guys love. So they actually will dig through here, and you can see Mama's already thinking about trying to find. What do you find? Go ahead. See anything? There you go. So they find the little microorganisms that are in there that they want to eat. But you see, if I sit here and pull this around, they're going to keep looking and looking. But this right here, this has been sitting now about, I've turned it I think 5 to 10 times. I honestly couldn't tell you because this is the second one and I can't remember how many. But they do most of the turning by scratching it around. You can see this pile right here used to be probably about this high. And they've slowly spread it out all along here and created this kind of nice deep mulch layer. Yeah, these chickens, these mamas. Hi. Yeah. Anywho, so these are chickens. Now what's nice about this system is I can actually let them out. So they do have this little run, which is certainly adequate for what they need. But if we do want to let them out, we have that capability. So I'm going to show you that next. Let me just get around there. So here they are in here. There's the run. We were just up in there. So I actually have it so I can undo this fence here. I'm sorry for this probably poor view that you're getting now. And you can see they instantly come right on out. And they love it down here. It's a little pasture for them. And what I do with this fence here is I have another post over here that's just ready to go. And you can see, let's get that realigned there. And the rooster will take care of the cat. We don't have to worry about the cat getting to the chickens. But as you see here now, that whole run opens up to this little lawn area. It actually goes this way, and they actually go across this little bridge and into beneath my mom's house here. So my mom lives right there. Hi, Mom. She's in there somewhere. But they actually go underneath here and use it as a dust bath. So they get to come out here and have a nice little private dust bath underneath the house. You can see the rooster there scratching. Let's see if I can zoom in without looking terrible. Let's see here. You see the mama's already there, scratching away. Anyway, so this is kind of the bottom of the property here. This big pipe is actually the septic line that goes down and into, joins up with this house, then goes into a tank that's currently covered in all these vines, which I need to clear. So this is our little pasture down here. Gives them an opportunity to get some greens. And these right here, this is a plantain, and this is another plantain here. So plátano in Spanish in Puerto Rico here. It's a pretty basic food here. Bananas and plantains grow very well in the tropics, and they produce so much biomass that we can use in our growing system. So definitely a very key feature to any sort of system. So now that we've gone through there, let's go and show you the growing systems. So I started with the chickens because that's what we started with here on the farm. I'm actually going to sit down here. I might be able to show you a little bit better. So we started with the chickens here, and they actually ended, the first iteration of their fencing here actually came this way and then down to here and then across. So this whole area started with chickens, and I just made this bed. This actually used to be where our greenhouse was, that little greenhouse I had just shown you. And I just threw this log across and then did a little bit of work with the soil. I loosened it up using a garden fork. I could have used a broad fork, but I don't have one. And so yeah, this is our new bed. So basically I just did all that, and I took the compost from right there, right next to, that's where we were inside with the chickens, took the compost that's ready at this point, and I literally threw it against the fence, and that filtered out all any of the big heavy stuff, and the rest of it landed right in the garden bed. So that works really well. So right here I got a little melon growing. This is a baby avocado, and all around this little teepee here we're going to end up having pole beans. Hopefully that's the goal. Actually, they're yard long beans. They're like it can be like a foot to 3 feet long. They're really popular in Asia, but they grow really well in the tropical climate, so we're trying them. Let's see what else. Let's go from here. So this is our pathway. So very important, talking about permaculture. Permaculture is basically a design system that uses, that's based on ethics of earth care, people care, and the return of the surplus. So return of the surplus means taking our food scraps and everything, we're returning that what we don't need to the chickens. The chickens then process it for us in manure. The manure plus all that bedding plus a bunch of mixture of weeds and everything becomes compost, and that compost then goes back onto the garden. So we have a full cycle where it goes from the garden to the kitchen to the chickens to the compost to the garden. So we're trying to close that loop. We're trying to keep everything right here. Another kind of key principle of permaculture when you're designing is to actually, when you're designing, you're thinking about the water flows, and you try to harmonize the water flows with the access. Now, here in the tropics, we get a lot of rain. We can have a foot plus of rain in a day if it's a really heavy storm day. So it can be a lot. So what I needed to do on this property when we first got here is really figure out how the water flowed across the property. Now, here we have this, you can see now basically it's established, but right here is like a little valley that comes down. And then there's another little valley that kind of comes down right here. So in the middle here where these rocks are, they're kind of anchoring everything, and they became this kind of first garden bed that we established. And then this path connects into this little bridge that goes across that little drainage and kind of comes along here, follows the curve of the land, and then goes up the slope. And so when the water's really flowing, this is actually overflowing with water. And the little drainage area is actually like a little river. So to give you some perspective here, water flows from up here, it's uphill from our neighbor's yard. It'll flow from up there down. It'll hit our property. This bed is lined on contour, basically straight across the slope, so that if the water does hit it, it's kind of slowed down there. It actually then will drain this way and down onto here. There's also water flows that come down near the chickens, comes kind of down behind the coop, goes down there, and then this whole path right here is very gently sloped, about 1%, 2% slope, and it's actually there's about 4 inches of gravel there, or 3 to 4 inches of gravel. So that allows all this to serve as a water flow when we get those really heavy rains, and it directs it away from our gardens. The garden, so basically the water flow goes this way and then overflows down this way and down the property. You can see it's a nice little curve of the property there, and it actually goes down here, follows here, and then actually oops, sorry about that, losing all that contrast there. It goes this way down the property, goes to those bananas, and eventually hits the bottom of our property where we were earlier. Each of these beds is a raised bed, and that's because we get so much rain. We need to add drainage to pretty much everything we do here. You'll also notice that there's a lot of young trees growing in this system, and those young trees are going to end up being high shade. In the tropics, you want high shade because it gets really, really hot and sunny in the middle of the day. So you still want the sun. All the plants, especially ones that want full sun, need that kind of sun. But the papayas, because they don't have any main branches, what they end up doing is once they grow a little bit taller here, this is just going to be a tall thing, and underneath here is going to be nice and open. And in the middle of the day, that high sun coming down on here, this is going to provide shade during that hot time of the day. And then when it's not so hot anymore, and then so basically you'll get sun coming in this way, and then when the sun gets high, it's going to block it. And then when it gets lower again, it'll come in this way. So we're going to still get an easy 6 to 8 hours of sun, if not more. But we're going to be protected from that super, super hot shade, which just helps keep the soil a little cooler, keeps the plants happier and not struggling to move on. So in these gardens, we got some tomatoes growing. Tomatoes aren't supposed to do great in the tropics because of all the moisture and everything, but I find they're doing great here. Definitely the kind of more cherry. This is like, I think, chocolate pear variety. You can see them. There's some here. There's some back there. He's almost ready. And we also have this kind of striped Roma tomato, which is doing pretty well. Now I do have this little hoop house kind of design, so if it does get super, super wet, I can cover this with a tarp and prevent lots of water getting on them if they're super ripe and about to be harvested, because otherwise they'll split. You'll notice that we actually have a clothesline running right through the middle of our garden area, and that's because we need to dry our clothes. We don't have a dryer, and we have so much sun here that you put these clothes out. They're usually dry in maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, even if it's a really hot sunny day. Not so sunny day, maybe a couple hours. So we don't actually pay for drying here. We just hang it. We had to put a little more work in. Hey, let's see what else is here. We're going to have to do another one of these tours, and I'll give you more details about exactly what's growing. But here we got like a baby avocado. This is like oregano bruja, I think they call it here. It's like Cuban oregano. It's super big leaf, and it smells very, very much of oregano, like super heavy. We like it here. It kind of grows very easily. We don't have to think about it, and it's just a nice smell. If it's smelly inside, we'll just take it and rub it all over the place, and it gives a nice scent. Over here, we have bananas. We have these nice big stalk there, almost ready to be harvested. My lady just came out. She's over here in her, let's see if I can get that centered on you. Boom. She's in a little shawl. She just got done teaching for the day and earning all the money because we're at home, stuck in quarantine, and I can't work, so she's doing all the work here. That's Katie.
Hi.
There we go. Now we got the hi. All right, back over here. Anyway, so we got the bananas here, and then right here we have plantain. And you can tell the difference a couple different ways, but one of which is like the leaf. Here, the bananas, you can see it's kind of open, and over here, the leaves are a little closed. We'll get a little bit more into that in a future video. But as you can see now, Katie is taking in the laundry, which is going to make seeing the rest of this a little bit easier for us. But you also might hear some squeaks the whole time. That's okay. So over here, all the stuff that needs a little bit more tender care is actually under these bananas, because this is going to give mostly shade until the afternoon. So down here we have our lettuces. I have arugula growing. We have bok choy. Kale's starting to come up. And you can see there's also papaya trees. These are papaya trees right here. The papaya trees, again, they're going to be our kind of high shade in the middle of the day, because once this rack of bananas is done, this whole tree is going to come down. A banana tree only produces one crop, and then it's done. And then it shoots up another. You can see here, here's the main one right here, and then right here's a little baby. It's coming up, and it'll produce the next stalk. But once these bananas are done, we'll hack it down. This whole trunk will come down, and then I lose all that shade that's protecting our little baby lettuces and everything. Anywho, moving on here. We have two laundry lines. One of them is for clean clothes, and one of them is for Nick's dirty clothes from all the work he does outside. I'm talking about myself in the third person there, if you weren't sure. Anyway, right along here, this is katuk, which is a green. It kind of grows in like a little small shrub. Sweet leaf, it's also called. It's really delicious. It tastes kind of nutty, but that's just a perennial shrub that's going to give us greens, and we can eat whatever we want. There are a couple more. There's supposed to be melons here. You can see them flowering, and it's great, but I think the cat actually came in and tore them all up the other day. So we'll see how that goes. Again, you're seeing papaya. This one's not so healthy right now. Needs something. I can look that up based on, you can see how those leaves are, it's a very specific kind of thing that's happening. So I can actually look that up and figure out what's wrong. Anyway, here we got, there's a pineapple here. That'll take another probably 1.5 to 2 years to produce anything. Moving along here, we got some watermelon growing and another papaya. And then this here is sugar cane. It's kind of fun. And now the light's kind of softening. I can kind of show you from up here. So this is the chicken coop. It's where we harvest the eggs from. So we just come out here and harvest the eggs. There's none in there now. We've already harvested it for the day. But that's where we would go do that. Now, as mentioned earlier, I was going to try to show you Yunque, which is the national rainforest here. There it is in the background there. So you can't really see it right now, but it's kind of a nice, beautiful time. So we get to be out here, and we have our nice Filipino coconut right there. Produces delicious coconut water and meat. It's actually time to harvest a couple of those. And yeah, so that's just kind of the overall tour. Just to kind of get us going. Another point is this is the house we're staying in. This is my mom's house. So we're right next door. We're separated by this little walkway. And we have a big old tank for water, because during hurricane season, if we lose water, we want to have some that's gravity fed, that we can at least have some water to go into the house. It's actually piped into this house, but it needs a little bit of improvement. That's another project for another day. Anyway, again, I'm Nick. This is the first of many videos. Oh, there goes Otto. First of many videos. Otto, no. There's a new garden down there. He likes to play in the gardens a lot, and often I need to remind him not to go to the bathroom in the garden. Instead, oh, don't watch that. He's going. Let's turn away, give him some privacy. Alrighty, guys. Well, that's it for me. Hope you all are doing well in quarantine. Just give you a nice little blue sky in case you're stuck somewhere gross and cold and snowy during this time. Blue skies, green all around us. More videos to come. Enjoy your night or day.